The giant screen at the United Nations headquarters flickered to life without warning. Every delegate in the General Assembly Hall fell silent as the image of a tall, blue-skinned creature appeared before them. Its 4 eyes blinked slowly as it studied the shocked humans below. "People of Earth," the alien spoke in perfect English, its voice deep and commanding. "I am High Speaker Marcus of the Galactic Council. Your planet has been under observation for the past 100 years, and we have reached a decision regarding your species." The room erupted in whispers and gasps. Security teams rushed to protect world leaders, but there was no immediate threat, only the massive floating screen that somehow bypassed all of Earth's security systems. "Your species," Marcus continued, "has been deemed too violent and unpredictable to be allowed unrestricted development. You war among yourselves, destroy your own environment, and now you begin to reach for the stars. The Council cannot allow this to continue." In the back of the room, Admiral James Walker clenched his fists. 20 years of preparing for this moment, and still it felt surreal. He watched as the UN Secretary-General stepped forward, her voice steady despite the situation. "We are a sovereign species," she declared. "Whatever your concerns, we have the right to determine our own path." The alien's upper eyes narrowed. "You misunderstand. This is not a negotiation. You have 48 Earth hours to surrender control of your planet to Council authority. Resist, and we will be forced to take action." The screen went dark, leaving the assembly in chaos. Admiral Walker slipped out of the room, pulling his secure phone from his pocket. Within minutes, military leaders worldwide received the same message. Protocol Omega is now active. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, doors that hadn't opened in decades rumble to life. Similar facilities across the globe, under the Himalayas, the Sahara, and the Australian outback, awakened from their long slumber. Humanity had not been idle during its years of watching the skies. "How many ships, Doctor?" Walker asked, standing in the command center of the mountain facility. The massive screen showed hundreds of alien vessels appearing at the edge of the solar system. Dr. Robert Miller, a man who had dedicated his life to studying recovered alien technology, checked his readings. "Over 300 Council ships, sir, but our calculations show they're using standardized shield frequencies. The weapons we developed should work." Walker nodded, remembering the crashed scout ship they'd found in Alaska 15 years ago. The Council thought humanity was blind to their presence, but that crash had given Earth the head start it needed. "Send word to all defense stations," Walker ordered. "Begin powering up the planetary shield, and get me a secure line to all world leaders. They need to know we have options." 24 hours later, the emergency global summit reached its conclusion. Instead of panic or surrender, Earth's leaders had listened to the military's preparations and made their choice. As the Council's deadline approached, humanity's response was broadcast on all frequencies. The Secretary-General stood proud before the cameras, delivering humanity's message. "To the Galactic Council, we, the united people of Earth, reject your ultimatum. We have watched you watching us. We have prepared. We have learned. If you choose war, understand that humans do not surrender their freedom. Not to kings, not to dictators, and certainly not to alien councils who think they can judge us from afar." In his command center, Walker watched the alien fleet's reaction. They were moving closer, probably expecting Earth to crumble at the first sign of force. He smiled grimly as he gave the order. "Activate the shield." Around the planet, hidden generators hummed to life. A shimmering barrier of energy began to form, using technology reversed engineered from that crashed ship. The Council fleet suddenly halted their advance. "They're scanning us," Dr. Miller reported, excitement in his voice. "They've never seen a planetary shield from a primitive species before." "Send them our final message," Walker commanded. Across every channel, in every language the Council used, Earth broadcast its response. "You gave us 48 hours to surrender. We're giving you 1 hour to retreat. This is your only warning." The war for Earth's independence was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy exactly how primitive they weren't. The Council's response came not with words but with plasma fire. Their ships launched a barrage of energy weapons that lit up Earth's newly revealed shield like fireworks on a dark night. Admiral Walker stood calmly in the command center, watching the attacks splash harmlessly against humanity's defense. "Status report," he called out. "Shield holding at 97% strength," a young officer replied. "The Council's weapons are powerful, sir, but our shield frequency keeps rotating just like we planned. They can't lock on." Dr. Miller rushed into the room, his tablet displaying streams of data. "Admiral, you need to see this. The Council ships, they're using the exact attack patterns we discovered in their training manuals from the crashed ship. They haven't changed anything in over 50 years. Walker allowed himself a small smile. The Council's greatest weakness was their rigid thinking. They had ruled the galaxy so long they'd stopped adapting, stopped innovating. But humanity had never stopped learning. "Launch Operation Ghost," Walker commanded. Across Earth's orbit, hundreds of small, unmanned ships emerged from hidden bases on the moon. These vessels, barely larger than fighter jets, had been built using a mixture of human ingenuity and alien technology. The Council fleet's formation broke slightly at the sight of the tiny ships. Their sensors would show nothing dangerous about these small vessels, exactly as planned. "Ghost ships in position," the tactical officer reported. "Ready on your command." Walker took a deep breath. "Execute primary attack plan." The small ships suddenly accelerated to impossible speeds, their engines using principles of physics that the Council thought primitive humans couldn't understand. Each ghost ship carried a single weapon, a device that could temporarily disrupt the Council's shield frequency. On the main screen, Walker watched as the first wave of ghost ships struck. Council vessels began losing shield power in sections, creating gaps in their defenses. The alien fleet's rigid formation began to break apart as ships tried to protect their vulnerable areas. "Second wave, launch now," Walker ordered. This time, Earth's main defense fleet rose from hidden bases across the planet. These ships were larger, built to human military specifications, but enhanced with reversed engineered Council technology. The Council fleet scrambled to regroup, but their command structure was too hierarchical, too slow to adapt. They needed orders from above for every major decision, while Earth's ships operated with tactical freedom. "Multiple Council ships have dropped their shields completely," the tactical officer reported with excitement. "They're trying to reboot their systems." In space, Earth's ships pressed their advantage. The Council's superior technology meant nothing when their shields wouldn't work and their tactics were predictable. One by one, their mighty warships began retreating, unable to counter humanity's unconventional attack patterns. "Sir," Dr. Miller called out, "we're receiving a transmission from one of the smaller Council ships. They're requesting permission to defect." Walker raised an eyebrow. "Put them through." The screen showed a younger alien, not the same species as High Speaker Marcus. "Humans," it said quickly, "I represent the Outer Rim worlds. We were forced to join this attack, but we've seen your strength, your innovation. The Council told us you were primitive, but they were wrong." "Interesting," Walker replied. "And what exactly are you proposing?" "Information," the alien said. "Fleet movements, Council weaknesses, communication codes. Many younger species are tired of the Council's rule. They need to see that resistance is possible." Walker shared a look with his officers. This was an unexpected development, but it fit with humanity's broader strategy. "Send a secure docking code to their ship," he ordered. "Let's hear what our new friend has to say." As the first day of battle drew to a close, humanity had done more than just survive. They had shaken the very foundation of the Council's power. Their victory today would spread across the galaxy, carried by quantum communications faster than light itself. The message was clear. Humanity would not bow, would not surrender, and most importantly, would not fight alone. The real war was just beginning. and Earth was ready to lead it. 3 days after Earth's initial victory, Admiral Walker received the news he'd been waiting for. The Council wasn't retreating. They were bringing their main fleet. 5,000 ships, Dr. Miller announced to the war room. Their defectors' information had proved correct. They're gathering at the edge of our solar system. This fleet has destroyed entire civilizations before. Walker studied the holographic display showing the massive enemy formation. But those civilizations weren't us, he said firmly. Begin Operation Hornet's Nest. Across Earth's military bases, pilots rushed to their ships. But these weren't the same vessels they'd used in the first battle. Earth had been building something special, something the Council would never expect from a primitive species. All swarm units report ready, the command center announced. Walker nodded and opened a channel to all Earth forces. Remember your training, he said. The Council thinks size equals power. Let's show them how wrong they are. From hidden bases across the solar system, on Mars, Venus, and countless asteroids, thousands of tiny ships emerged. Each one was barely large enough for a single pilot. The Council's sensors would see them as nothing more than space debris. The massive Council fleet entered the solar system in perfect formation. Their ships were enormous, each one bigger than Earth's largest cities. They moved slowly, confidently, expecting Earth to surrender at the sight of their overwhelming force. They didn't expect the debris field around Mars to come alive. Swarm units, attack pattern Delta, Walker commanded. Thousands of tiny human ships suddenly activated, swarming around the Council vessels like angry bees. Each small ship carried a special weapon designed by Dr. Miller. A concentrated EMP burst that could overload Council shield generators. The Council fleet's neat formation dissolved into chaos. Their massive ships tried to target the tiny human vessels, but it was like trying to swat mosquitoes with a sledgehammer. Their weapons were too big, too slow to hit the agile Earth ships. Second wave, move in, Walker ordered. Larger Earth vessels emerged from hiding spots in the asteroid belt, taking advantage of the confusion. They targeted the Council ships' blind spots, weaknesses revealed by their defectors' information. In the command center, Dr. Miller monitored the battle data. Their ships are built for fighting equals, he reported. They have no defense against something this small. Their targeting systems can't lock onto anything smaller than a cruiser. The Council fleet tried to regroup, but Earth's ships were everywhere. Human pilots darted between the massive alien vessels, their small ships finding gaps in the Council's defenses that larger ships could never exploit. "Sir," an officer called out, "the Council's flagship is transmitting." The huge screen lit up showing High Speaker Marcus. His 4 eyes were wide with shock. "This is impossible," he said. "Your species, you were supposed to be primitive." Walker stood tall. "You made 3 mistakes," he replied calmly. "First, you thought technology was the same as intelligence. Second, you expected us to fight like you do. And third," he allowed himself a small smile, "you gave us time to prepare." On the screen, Marcus's face showed fear for the first time. "Perhaps we could discuss terms." "You had your chance for discussion," Walker answered. "Now you'll learn why humans have a saying, 'Don't poke a sleeping bear.'" The battle continued for hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The Council's mighty fleet, which had terrorized the galaxy for centuries, was being defeated by ships they considered too small to be threats. By the end of the day, half the Council fleet had either retreated or been disabled. The rest were surrounded by Earth's forces, their mighty weapons useless against targets they couldn't effectively hit. Earth had won its first major victory, but Walker knew this was just the beginning. The Council would be back, and next time they would be ready for the swarm tactics. But that was fine. Humanity was already preparing new surprises. After all, adaptation wasn't just a human trait, it was their greatest weapon. The Council changed their strategy after their space fleet's defeat. If they couldn't win in space, they would try to take Earth on the ground. Their remaining ships launched thousands of drop pods toward Earth's major cities. Commander Lisa Thompson watched from her underground command center as the pods crashed through the clouds above New York. The Council expected to find panicked civilians. Instead, they found empty streets. "All units, remember your training," she spoke into her command radio. "Let them think they've won. Wait for my signal." The alien soldiers marched through the quiet city, their heavy armor clanking against the pavement. They were tall, strong, and carried advanced weapons, but they had never fought humans in urban combat before. "They're passing Checkpoint 3, a scout reported. No sign they suspect anything." Thompson smiled. For months, they had prepared the cities for this moment. Every building, every street, and every subway tunnel was part of their trap. The aliens thought humans would fight like they did, with large armies in open battles. "All units, Operation Ghost Town is now active," Thompson commanded. The ground beneath the alien soldiers suddenly erupted. Hidden panels in the streets opened, revealing Earth's defenders. From windows, sewers, and rooftops, humans appeared as if from nowhere. They wore simple body armor, nothing as advanced as the aliens, but they knew every inch of their city. "Focus on their command units," Thompson ordered. Her soldiers had studied the Council's rigid command structure. Without direct orders, their ground troops would become confused and disorganized. The aliens tried to fight back, but Earth's forces disappeared as quickly as they had appeared, vanishing into hidden tunnels and secret passages. The Council soldiers found themselves shooting at empty streets, while attacks came from unexpected directions. Dr. Miller's voice came through Thompson's radio. "Commander, the Council's communications are breaking down. They can't coordinate their units. Their commanders are asking for orders from their ships, but our jamming is working." In London, Paris, Tokyo, and dozens of other cities, the same story played out. Council forces found themselves fighting an enemy they couldn't see, couldn't track, and couldn't predict. Their superior weapons meant nothing when they couldn't find their targets. "This is impossible," a captured Council commander yelled as Thompson's soldiers brought him in. "Your species, you're supposed to be primitive. These tactics, this organization. You made a big mistake," Thompson told him. "You judged us by our technology level, but humans have been fighting in cities for thousands of years. We know every trick, every tactic, every way to turn our homes into fortresses." Above the city, Council dropships tried to provide air support, but they discovered another surprise. Humans had hidden anti-aircraft weapons in ordinary buildings. What looked like air conditioning units on rooftops turned out to be disguised defense systems. "Council forces are retreating in all major cities," the Global Command reported. "They've lost almost 40% of their ground forces, and the rest are falling back to their landing zones." Thompson watched on her screens as the alien soldiers rushed back to their ships. They had expected an easy victory over primitive humans. Instead, they had walked into a carefully planned trap. "Should we pursue?" one of her officers asked. "No," Thompson replied. "Let them run. Let them tell the Council what happened here. Let the whole galaxy know that invading Earth on the ground is a death sentence." As the Council ships lifted off, carrying their defeated ground forces, Thompson opened a channel to Admiral Walker in orbit. "Ground phase is complete," she reported. "The Council just learned that humans don't just fight in space. We defend our home, street by street, building by building. And we never give up." The Council had failed in space, and now they had failed on the ground. But Thompson knew this wasn't the end. The real question was, what would the Council try next? And more importantly, what surprises did humanity still have waiting for them? After their defeats in space and on the ground, the Council expected humans to stay defensive. They were wrong. Admiral Walker and Commander Thompson had a different plan. Operation Thunderstrike. "The Council thinks we're trapped in our solar system," Walker explained to Earth's military leadership. "They don't know about the jump drive we developed from their crashed ship." Dr. Miller stepped forward, pointing to a holographic map of Council space. We've identified their main supply lines. Their entire empire depends on these routes, and thanks to our defectors, we know exactly when their supply ships will be most vulnerable." Thompson smiled. "And while they watch Earth's defenses, they won't expect an attack from behind their lines." The plan was bold, maybe even crazy, but that's what made it perfect. Humans were good at crazy plans. Earth's strike fleet gathered in secret. 500 ships, each one equipped with the new jump drive. They were smaller than Council vessels, but faster and more agile. And they carried Dr. Miller's newest weapon, the Shield Breaker. "All ships report ready," the command center announced. Walker took a deep breath. "Begin Operation Thunderstrike," he ordered. The human fleet vanished in flashes of light, jumping far beyond Earth's solar system. They reappeared deep in Council space, right in the middle of their supply routes. The Council's response was slow. They had never expected humans to reach this far. Their supply ships were barely defended, their crews unprepared for combat. "First target acquired," reported the lead strike ship. "Council supply fleet carrying weapons and armor. They don't see us coming." Walker's voice was firm. "Take them out." Earth's ships struck hard and fast. The Shield Breaker weapons cut through Council defenses like they weren't even there. Supply ships exploded or drifted powerless in space. The few Council warships guarding them couldn't react fast enough to stop the attack. Multiple Council distress calls detected. Dr. Miller reported, monitoring the enemy communications. "They're panicking. Their commanders don't know how to handle this situation." The human fleet jumped from target to target. They destroyed supply ships, fuel stations, and communication relays. Each strike was quick, precise, and devastating. The Council's mighty empire was being cut apart piece by piece. Back on Earth, Commander Thompson led the ground phase of Operation Thunderstrike. As Council forces across the galaxy lost supplies and support, more alien worlds began to rebel. "We're receiving messages from 12 different species," Thompson reported to Walker. "They want to join us. They've seen that the Council isn't invincible anymore." The Council tried to respond, but their rigid command structure worked against them. By the time they sent ships to defend one supply line, the human fleet had already jumped to another target. "Council military communications are in chaos," Dr. Miller announced with excitement. "Their armies are running out of fuel and ammunition. Some of their colonies are surrendering without a fight." After 3 days of continuous attacks, Earth's fleet regrouped for their final strike. They had destroyed nearly 70% of the Council's supply lines. The mighty empire that had ruled the galaxy for centuries was starting to fall apart. Walker opened a channel to all Earth ships. "The Council thought they could break us," he said. "Instead, we're breaking them. But remember, we're not fighting for revenge. We're fighting for freedom. Not just for Earth, but for every species the Council has oppressed." As the fleet prepared for their next attack, news spread across the galaxy. Humans weren't just defending their world anymore. They were taking the fight to the Council itself, and they were winning. The Council had started this war thinking they were dealing with primitives. Now they were learning a hard lesson. Never underestimate humanity's ability to adapt, innovate, and overcome. The Council's main chamber, once a place of order and power, had turned into a scene of chaos. High Speaker Marcus watched helplessly as representatives from different species argued and shouted at each other. "The humans have destroyed our supply lines," one member yelled. "3 more colony worlds have declared independence," another reported. "My people will no longer fight for the Council," a third announced. On Earth, Admiral Walker and Commander Thompson watched the Council's meeting through a secure feed provided by their alien allies. Dr. Miller worked at a nearby console, analyzing data from across the galaxy. "The Council is falling apart," Thompson said. "Their own species are turning against them." Walker nodded. "Then it's time for the final phase. Contact our allies in the Council. Operation Unity begins now." Across the galaxy, ships from Earth and their allied species gathered. The fleet was massive, larger than anything the Council had ever faced. But this wasn't just a human fleet anymore. It included vessels from every species that had joined Earth's fight for freedom. "All ships report ready," the command center announced. "Allied forces are in position." Walker opened a channel to the entire fleet. "Today, we end the Council's tyranny, not through destruction, but by giving the galaxy a choice the Council never gave anyone." The combined fleet jumped into position around the Council's capital world. It was a massive show of force, but Walker had given strict orders. They would not fire first. In the Council chamber, alarms blared as the fleet appeared. High Speaker Marcus rushed to the main view screen, his 4 eyes widening at the sight of so many ships. "Impossible," he whispered. "How many species have joined them?" "We're receiving a transmission from the human fleet," an aide reported. Walker's image appeared on the Council's screens. "Members of the Galactic Council," he said calmly. "Your empire is finished. Your supply lines are cut. Your armies are retreating. And now your own people are choosing freedom." Marcus tried to maintain his authority. "You cannot simply." "We can," Walker interrupted. "And we have. But unlike you, we're not here to conquer. We're here to offer a choice." Dr. Miller's voice came through Walker's comm. "Council defenses are powering down. Our allies inside the capital are doing their part." Thompson, leading the ground forces waiting in orbit, reported next. "Security forces across the capital are standing down. The younger Council species are taking control." Walker continued addressing the Council. "Your choice is simple. Step down peacefully and help create a new galactic alliance, one based on cooperation, not control. Or resist, and watch as your entire empire joins us anyway." In the Council chamber, Marcus looked around desperately, but he saw only determined faces. One by one, Council members stood and moved away from him, joining the side that supported Earth. "The humans have shown us a better way," one Council member announced. "They could have destroyed us. Instead, they offer partnership." Marcus slumped in his chair, finally understanding. The Council had failed not because humans were stronger, but because they were different. They didn't seek to rule. They sought to unite. Marcus said slowly, "I surrender the Council's authority." The cheers that erupted weren't just in the Council chamber. They rang out across thousands of worlds as news of the Council's surrender spread through the galaxy. Walker turned to his crew. "Send the message to Earth. The war is over." But both he and Thompson knew this wasn't really an ending. It was a beginning. Humanity had not just won their freedom. They had changed the entire galaxy. Now came the hard part, building something better than what they had torn down. But if any species could do it, humans could. After all, adaptation wasn't just about winning wars. It was about creating a better future for everyone. 1 year after the Council's surrender, the galaxy had changed more than anyone could have imagined. The old Council chamber, once a place of fear and control, now hosted the first Galactic Alliance meeting. Admiral Walker, now Earth's representative to the Alliance, stood at the center of the chamber. Around him sat delegates from over 200 species. Some were former Council members, others were newly freed races. All were equal now. The old Council thought strength came from power over others. Walker addressed the chamber. They were wrong. Real strength comes from working together. Commander Thompson, leading the new Joint Defense Force, stood nearby. The combined fleet now protected trade routes instead of controlling them. Ships from different species work together, sharing knowledge and technology. Trade between worlds has doubled in the past year, Dr. Miller reported, showing data on the main screen. And with shared technology, even the outer colonies are thriving. In Earth's orbit, a massive space station served as the center for galactic cooperation. Scientists from hundreds of worlds worked together, solving problems that had puzzled their species for centuries. Former High Speaker Marcus, now serving as an advisor, approached Walker after the meeting. "I must admit," he said, his 4 eyes showing respect, "we were completely wrong about humans. We thought your warlike nature was a weakness. Now I see it was preparation." Walker nodded. "Humans fight, yes, but we also build. We create. We learn. And most importantly, we change." Across the galaxy, the effects of Earth's influence could be seen everywhere. The rigid structures of the old council were replaced by flexible, cooperative systems. Ships from different species worked together in mixed crews. Cultural exchange programs helped worlds understand each other better. "The latest reports are in," Thompson told Walker during their daily meeting. "Another 10 worlds have joined the alliance. They've seen how well the new system works." Dr. Miller added excitedly, "And our combined research teams have made amazing discoveries. Cures for diseases that plagued entire species. New forms of energy. Better ways to travel between stars. Working together, we're achieving things the Council never dreamed possible." In the station's observation deck, Walker watched ships from dozens of worlds dock and depart. Each one carried mixed crews. Humans working alongside aliens, learning from each other, growing together. "Did you ever think it would turn out like this?" Thompson asked, joining him at the window. Walker smiled. "When the Council first threatened Earth, no, we just wanted to survive. But humans have always been good at turning bad situations into opportunities." A group of young aliens passed by, wearing Earth-style clothes and speaking multiple languages. This was common now, species adopting parts of each other's cultures, creating something new and better. "The Council's biggest mistake," Dr. Miller said, reviewing old data, "was thinking that being primitive meant being simple. They never understood that struggle makes you stronger. Earth's history of conflict taught us to adapt, to innovate, to overcome." In the Chamber's records room, the old Council's threatening message to Earth was kept as a reminder. Next to it stood Earth's response, not just their defiance, but their promise to build something better. Walker addressed the final session of the day. "1 year ago, we proved that humans aren't primitive. But that wasn't our greatest victory. Our real triumph was showing the galaxy a better way forward. Together, we've built something the Council never could. True unity through respect, not fear." As the session ended, delegates from different worlds mingled freely, discussing joint projects and sharing ideas. The galaxy was no longer divided between rulers and ruled. Instead, it was united by something stronger, hope for a better future. Earth had not just survived the Council's threat. They had transformed it into an opportunity for all species to grow, learn, and thrive together. The primitive humans had taught the galaxy's oldest civilizations the most important lesson of all: true strength comes not from conquering others, but from lifting everyone up together.